then the soil government of national unity, then also the Council of State. All of these governmental administrations were responsible to seek resolution of the peace process and then long-term solution, and that is with the UN, the United States, with the EU, and all of these people were involved. So it was not just a responsibility alone of the government, in which I was an advisor, but it was an international issue. But we were committed to seeing that peace is brought to Liberia, realizing that it would not be proper for us to substitute Liberian participation with that of foreigners. So we were present in it. We went to capitals all over.
My last question.
So it cannot be said that we failed to provide the necessary advice that would bring peace to Liberia, simply because one of the critical issues in the Liberian war was ethnicity and tribe.
Okay, my last question, Mr. Witness. The 1985 elections were widely believed to have been rigged by the NDPL of the late President Samuel Doe. Can you give us your candid view on this? What do you really think? Do you think the NDPL actually won that election? Mr. Witness?
Yeah, he's writing that down. I can hear you. He can hear you.
Okay,
I
can speak louder.
He's writing down.
Reverend Tia?
Is that what she said?
I can speak louder.
Where she said what? What she said?
Yeah, but he didn't hear me. Everybody else.
He can't hear you too.
Okay, I will shout. I didn't want to appear rude. Okay, Mr. Witness? Mr. Witness? Yes, I was asking concerning the 1985 elections.
Mm-hmm.
It was the President Samuel Doe claimed victory, but it was widely believed that the elections were rigged by the NDPL. Can you give me your candid opinion about this? Do you think the NDPL and Mr. Doe really won the 1985 elections?
I can tell you this. I have no evidence of the election being rigged. I do not have. As a matter of fact, what I can say is that the Constitution and the political process introduced by the military government brought to Liberia the issue of peaceful political process that brought into Liberia a 10-year president, a multi-party system on the African continent that was notorious for lifetime presidencies and one-party state. So I did not see the evidence. If I had seen the evidence, if I had the evidence that it was rigged, oh yes, we would go on with it. But I did not see the evidence. It was said. In fact, New York, Newsweek came out with a report that said that it is remarkable that the Liberian government could have this result in the light of the tremendous obstacles that the people face.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gbala.
John?
How would you characterize the regime of Samuel Doe? Despotic, tyrannical, benevolent?
Which one?
The regime of Samuel Doe. How would you characterize it on hindsight? Both military and civilian. How would you characterize it? Despotic,
well,
tyrannical, benevolent, progressive?
I gave you the analysis, my experience. Two, A, a nightmare. B, an exciting laboratory for a student of political science. That tells you that I do not believe that it was receptive to the issues of liberal democracy.
But given the fact that you served in this government till its demise,
Oh, yes.
would you-
I serve in the capacity of a political and economic advisor.
so against that back,
And you and I know that in an advisor-advisory relationship, the performance is characterized by division of labor. All I do, right, and say, if you want to go to Kakata, if you want to drive, if you want to walk, if you want to fly, these are the consequences. And then you as the decision maker, pick which one you want. There's nothing I can do about it.
so against that backdrop, would you share blame for his failures?
Do what?
Would you share blame for his failures?
Do I personally?
Yeah, would you accept to share blame for his
You
failures?
can say so because you see, most people equate advisors with implementers. Therefore, if they say you are to blame, of course, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not running away from offering the advice. For example, the issue of the Observer. The government closed the Observer. And I wrote a scathing memorandum that the press report what it sees. A press is necessary in a functioning democracy because it is the eyes and ears of the government. Closing it is inappropriate. I was suspended. So you see, these are the problems you have. You have to face the realities. You have to be willing to accept the consequences of what you do, and that's what I did.
You recall that the late Minister of State, John Renzi, at one point in time wrote a letter which was leaked to the press that turned out to be very, very controversial, advising the president the steps to take in order to consolidate power. On reflection and hindsight, can you say that such advice coming from the Minister of State at that time was a contributing factor to the crisis that we had?
No. As a matter of fact, Mr. Renzi and I didn't get along because he comes from, in my view now, he comes from that background that does not admit rational analysis into any issue. For example, it was Renzi's recommendation that produced the Doe issue. And we wrote very strongly on Renzi because Renzi was an arch conservative who did not, give any inch of argument to an opposing argument. They do not realize that opposition is indispensable.
At one time, you opined quite openly, that the Crown people, quote, were endangered species.
Oh yeah, I said that.
Do you still hold that view
I
today?
said that on my way. In fact, I think he can remember that. I said that, and as a Crown man at that time, when the war started, many of the Crown people and Mandingo people ran away from Monrovia, fled Monrovia into Sierra Leone. And I had a gown. I was wearing a gown. So somebody said, "You wearing a gown?" I said, "Yeah. Crown people and Mandingo people are endangered species because the NPFL directed its activities against these two tribes."
Now,
But I believe this is why I strongly believe that the issue of ethnicity, the issue of tribe, should not be an argument in our political dispensation.
Charles Taylor, you worked along with him in the Union of Liberian Association in Americas. As a matter of fact, you were on a delegation that went to Liberia. And
Who?
Charles Taylor.
Oh, yes.
And as you said, the MPFL directed its antipathy towards the Crown and Mandingo people. Taylor was elected president. You accepted an appointment to serve with him, I suppose on the basis of your long-standing friendship. But after the murder of Samuel Doe and his family, did that raise a red flag and to you as what was coming? But you continue to serve. Can you provide some reasons why you would serve a leader, a government that consider a brutal and oppressive, up to the point where you parted company only when you were charged for treason?
Well, you know, Charlie and I were friends. We started here in the United States. When I was president of the union, Charles was the board chairman. We marched the streets of the major cities in this country in protest to our political leaders at home. At that time, Taylor was one of the most loyal members of the union. So I was really shocked when I heard that he was leading a coup d'etat or an insurgency. So when he sent to me in Monrovia to go to Banga, I sent back to him and said, Charlie, you're joking. You know, the issue now is that Crown people and Mandingo people are targeted. I can't come over there. He went on radio to say, well, Gbala is scared to come in here. You think I will kill him? His life isn't worth a dime. So I said, well, this is why I'm not going to come over there. But you see, when he finally became president, I was then serving as an advisor to Amos Sawyer. So when he became president, it means that all of us had to give up our positions. So I went home. A week later, he sent Blamo Nelson. Now, Taylor and Blamo Nelson began here in the United States. He sent Blamo Nelson to the house to want to see me. I went to the mansion. It was then T. Ernest Eastman was then the Minister of State. So the president said, he wanted you to join the staff. So I said, no, I don't think so. As it is right now, Taylor has more advisors than Babangida, and he doesn't have the money to pay them. And also, Taylor's problem is to look at the economy. He does not have to have me in there. So I went home. He sent back again. He said, you know, I can't be president. And you said, now, all I want you to do is to accompany me to Togo. At that time, he was going to an ECOWAS meeting in Togo. Accompany because you were international advisors, therefore I want you to go along with me. So I said, fine. We went to Togo. We were there for 3 days and we came back. Later on, he said, okay, I want to give you the portfolio of international advisor. I felt then, like I felt all the time, it's better to bring about change from within than without. But I was wrong. Only 9 months later, I didn't know that I was on the list to be eliminated. On the 18th of September, hell broke out on Camp Johnson Road, and I was supposed to be the ringleader. That's how I was arrested with 12 others, tried, convicted, and sent to jail. If it were not for the international community, including the United States and the UN, I probably would have died in jail. So this is how Taylor and I got together. We were friends here in the United States. He was then one of the most loyal members. But you will remember that it was Charles Taylor who went and arrested most of the people that were tried and executed. It was Charles Taylor. After the coup d'etat, Taylor went and put on military uniform, took some soldiers, and arrested most of the people that were killed on the beach. It was Charles Taylor. I was here in the United States. You know why I saw that was in the office of Representative Conyers, John Conyers from Michigan. He had Time magazine with color photographs of the execution on the beach. He said, is that what you're talking about? So this is how it is.
Now, while you were detained during Taylor, some detainees were taken out of jail and executed. I suppose some of your colleagues, like the late Thomas Doe and others. Are you aware of those who carried out those executions?
Who you mean? The Samuel Doe execution?
No, while you were detained
Yeah.
during the government of Charles Taylor,
Yeah.
there were some colleagues of yours who were also charged,
Yeah.
like Thomas Doe, the late Colonel Thomas Doe. And there were reports, well, they disappeared from the cells. Do you have any idea as to who were responsible for the executions?
No, it is said that, it is said, not personal, experience, it is said that Nathan, what is his name? General Nathan Yit, the guy who was, Benjamin Yetan, the guy who was supervisor of Charles Taylor's SSS, gave the instructions for the SS station in Banga to arrest Doki and his wife.
No, I don't mean Doki.
This was Samuel Doki.
No, I'm not referring to Doki. I'm referring to Thomas Doe, Colonel Thomas Doe, and others who were accused along with you and charged for treason. And some of them were taken out of the cell and executed. Are you aware of those who were responsible for those executions?
No. I do not have security responsibilities. I do not put my nose into it. Only policy.
No, you were also a detainee at the time.
Oh, the Thomas Dewey? Well, those were taken out, it is said, on the night of the September 18th, incident. Some people fled with Johnson, with Roosevelt Johnson. And it is said that Thomas Doe and others were the supporters of Samuel Doe. So elements of the Taylor government went to the post stockade and took out Thomas Doe and some of those people and took them to shuffling and shot them on the beach. Now this is what I've been told, not with my eyes.
Who were those responsible for doing that, as you were told?
Thomas Doe, he was colonel in the armed forces.
Who was responsible for taking them out and
That
shooting them?
I do not know. I do not know the names of the individual. In fact, that issue was tried when we were in jail. It is said that they would send people to take us out of the jail and kill us. But we were able to thwart that because we wrote and smuggled it out of the jail and it appeared in the press. So they didn't do that.
Now my last question
Because
to you.
if we were at the BTC, probably it would have happened.
Now my last question to you. When you were sentenced by the court and appealed the court's decision, the lower court's decision to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court added an additional 20 years, an additional 10 years. Do you have any do you hold any bitterness as a result of that decision? And do you see the court as a facilitator of an unjust sentence?
Well, you see, this is why I believe that the commission would be a new renewal in our approach to political organization. The courts must be separated from the political decision makers. The courts in those days were Charles Taylor's extension of Charles Taylor's hand. Musu was then Chief Justice. The lower court brought a decision of guilty against us and gave us 10 years. We took appeal to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court not only affirmed the lower court decision, but added 10 years. Added 10 years to the decision. Of course, we were bitter. I was very bitter because it was illegal. And in our law, a court could not do that unless they can say that the decision of the court is not consistent with a given law. That they did not say. In fact, I've written on that decision. It's going to be published very soon.
Does this current bench present any hope for you? Does the current composition of the court present any hope for you?
The current position of the court now?
Yeah.
I know nothing about the court, the Lewis court. I know Councilor Lewis very well, but I don't know what they're doing. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know what they are doing right now. But I believe that the courts should be independent of politics.
Thank you very much.
That an individual who is charged must be tried on the basis of the body of laws that we have in our country that are applicable to the charges against that individual. In Liberia, that is not the case. And this is where some of our young leaders today did not follow President Tubman. You know, President Tubman might have done something wrong, but he did everything with class. This is one thing that I've said. To consciously and publicly influence the court politically would be something that is illegal. And I think the commission has a responsibility to address that issue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness, for taking your time up today to give your testimony to the commission.
Did you hear what she said? I can't hear.
Thank you very much for coming to share your experience with us. I have one question. And my question is, as a politician and a political and economic advisor to the former President Doe, I want you to please, because the TRC, besides investigating human rights violations, we're supposed to look at institutions to make recommendations for reforms in terms of governance. I want you to compare the administration of Talbot with Doe in terms of corruption, inequality, and nepotism.
Well, I think one can say that there is old wine in new bottles. These young people imitated the things that were done in the past. As a matter of fact, some of them would say to me, you know, Richard Henry did this other person did that, why can't we do it? And I said, well, where is he now? Didn't you take him down to the beach and kill him? Penny told me one day, are you scared to be killed? I said, no, I'm not going to be killed for foolishness. Because you see, the things that these people did, you said they were wrong. That's why you executed them. Therefore, you cannot do that. So to me, it's like old wine in new bottles. I mean, in new bottles. Old wine in new bottles. These guys were doing things that they didn't know how to do. All they were doing, imitating those people who came before them. There are differences. The differences relate to the individuals. These individuals were soldiers trained in military science, not in political science. Like I said earlier, they were trained to obey, obey, and obey. No idea of democracy. So this is how I look at the two. Now, from 1847 up to a change in government, they had defined why they took over the government, but those things continue. Corruption continue. Abuse of human rights continue. Even though they introduced a new constitution that departed from the past, yet they did things that were not consistent. If you look at the new constitution that we have now, Article 27B, I think you see what I wrote in there, Article 27B, that denies citizenship to non-Negroes. It's a violation